Welcome to another episode of A Fine Podcast with your hosts, Amanda and
Joseph. Yeah, welcome back, everyone.
Woo, welcome back.
We are here to discuss Got to Get Out.
Episode 2.
Yes. We have to get out of this episode.
And the way to get out is by talking it out.
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
I loved it. I loved it on your part. That was great.
I don't know. I wanted to be fancy and I could not be fancy.
No, it worked. It worked.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but
You got to get out of your head because that was a great thing to say.
there we go. That's a better one.
So yeah, this episode was pretty exciting. But first, how was your week?
Yeah, it's been well. I've been doing some landscaping around the house.
Landscaping? Tell us about the landscaping. Landscaping? Where did we hear that last? We talked about landscaping on our Farmer Wants a Wife podcast. Check us out.
Yeah, I did some pruning of bushes.
Did you really prune bushes?
A little bit. Like one bush. I pulled one weed out of a single bush.
Tell us about that.
I saw a weed and I pulled it.
And how long did that whole process take you?
Less than a minute. That's how my week's been.
Your week's been full of less than 1 minute tasks. Congratulations.
Yeah, pretty much.
What else did you do quickly this week? You took a quick shower. You could probably set the record for the world's fastest shower.
Yeah, I sat in this chair.
How long do you think I take in the shower?
Your shower isn't long. It's more the hair drying that takes forever.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I can notice when you dry your hair because it's extra fluffy.
Yes, thank you.
One of our favorite comedians is Fluffy.
Yes.
He had a show
Yes.
called,
Fluffy.
and the theme song was?
I don't know.
What'd they say in the theme song?
What, the Mr. Iglesias
Yes.
song? Yes, yeah.
Where that's all they said?
Yes.
Thanks for showing me Fluffy.
You're welcome.
He's very funny.
Yeah.
You know who else is funny?
Oh,
Doodles on Got to Get Out.
yes.
Because we were left on this cliffhanger in episode 1 where Doodles was making his big, funny escape. Will he make it? Will he not? Well, we found out in this episode. And he gets in the Lamborghini. And he really messes up here, making so much noise with the car.
Yeah, I mean, this was just a given thing. I mean, well, so they actually this was at least one like interesting aspect of this part because they show him getting in the car and then they played this big rev and then I didn't know if this was just like an editing thing that they did or if he actually revved the car or not, but
And he did, right?
apparently he did because Spencer and a couple other people mentioned that, or Spencer pointed it out, but that he heard the rev before he even took off. He was trying to take it out of park, but he ended up revving the engine.
Right. He hit the gas instead of the brake when switching it into drive.
Yes, because he was so nervous that during the thing.
Well, Spencer definitely leads the pack to hit the button. He's always the first one to say, hit the button, hit the button.
Yeah.
And the button was hit. And then he has to reverse the car all the way back and then do the walk of shame back in the house. And then he goes in and they all chant, walk of shame, walk of shame.
But then this was funny because Steve H commented, he's like, oh, this is great. Doodles will be the new villain. Everyone will despise him for, trying. And then I'll kind of get pushed back into the background.
Everybody
and
will
people
forget
start,
about me.
Yeah.
Yep.
And no, they're all chanting, they're clapping, they're dancing. And he's very, he's like, what the heck is happening here? I thought they'd be. And then everyone commented, oh, it's just because he was fun about it and he didn't lie about anything to try to get out. He
Like
just
no fake made up twisted stories like you, Steve.
right, like about the whole DQ thing. So that so then everyone still despises Steve and he's totally bottom of the barrel right now. And Doodles is totally
E-
in the
Yeah,
clear.
everyone just laughed it off. They understood, but they really appreciated his honesty, his honest try to get out.
Yeah, because I
Rather,
think at the end of right, everyone's gonna try as long as they're straightforward about the getting out, right? And he didn't have to mention it to anyone or even say anything. He just tried to get out. So I
that
mean, there
was it.
wasn't. What are you gonna get mad at? Because I mean, that's the whole point of the game, right? I mean, there wasn't any dishonesty or
I mean, he could have pulled a
manipulation or
Rob.
anything.
I guess that's the whole
Yeah,
thing.
right.
But
Yeah, but if you know,
if you're
as
going
the
to try
player,
it,
right?
yeah,
You might as well just be honest, or I don't know, just be straight about it. I guess you don't need like the manipulation or devilish intent to try
right.
to
The whole I'm
cover your tracks.
disqualified.
Yeah.
So after this, we learn that now there are 2 escapes from instant exits, which will be opening at random. And then 2 others are from the ticker tape machine. So Susan gets one of those from the machine, and it's to be used between 222K to 240K. And she needs to recruit one person to stand by at any 2 locks in the house. And when it says open, one exit will open and they will choose whether or not to share the money with their partner. So the way Susan handled this was absolutely crazy. She comes running out of the ticker tape machine room and she's cheering. She's telling everybody everything. She picks Demi to be her partner. But Spencer points out the main flaws in Susan shouting out like who her partner is, how much money it has to be at when she makes the exit. It's like she just gave away everything. And Demi was like, oh my gosh, why is Susan doing this?
Yeah, I really don't. I was very confused by this. I didn't know if I was either, you know, this is one of those moves where it's just stupidity or it's brilliance, right? And it was on the stupidity side.
I thought, is there like something that we're not understanding, like some secret like plan that she has going on? But it was just no, she like just couldn't
Yeah,
contain herself.
I don't know what, unless it was just more of like it's almost like a combination of Doodles and Rob, right? Rob told everyone but didn't even try. Doodles just tried, and Susan told everyone and then tried. So I don't know. It's almost like a combination between the two of them.
Well, also Doodles gets another escape message from the machine, which is crazy, but he thinks this is good because no one will suspect that he got it again. So his escape is in the pool room house with a partner. So he picks trustworthy Rob to be his partner. And his dollar amount is at 201.5K.
Now they're trying to implement where at least two people need to be up on the watchtower at all times. So that way, hopefully, they're not all in cahoots, right? Or if they are, it's just going to divvy up the money so much that it's not going to be worth it. At least to this point, maybe if it got to, I don't know, 600,000 or something. Sure, three ways could be a lot of money, but so this kind of foils Doodle's plan because he's trying to come up with how can I. Right now, his escape he can't do the same thing that he did last time.
So him and Rob are trying to figure out what to do. And Jill loves being on top of this watchtower. It's very hard to get her away from the watchtower. So she's there and Doodles is there. And then he finally convinces her to leave. He says, I've got this handled. Yeah, go take a shower, go eat some lunch. Like, I've got this covered. And she walks away. But then Steve, H, and Val, they're talking all about, I love this conversation. It was all about Val's history on how he got into dance and just very long conversations. And Steve was talking about how he got into, his thing. And so the two of them were bonding and sunbathing.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, so then Rob kind of gets
Yeah,
stuck in a dilemma.
Doodle switches with Rob to get Rob to see if Rob can get people away because now Doodles is going to try to make the escape.
Right. Yes. Yeah. But then, like you said, Val and Steve show up, and then there's just way too many people at the top.
Yeah,
So,
Steve's like, I started working at People magazine back at this age.
so yeah. So there's basically no opportunity.
Oh, and then the people in the kitchen had a really good view as well, so they were worried about that.
Yeah, that's good. They kind of kept viewing, and I guess that was the case. But I noticed some people would just pan and even like sit by windows and just watch the windows almost.
Right.
So I mean,
Whatever
everyone's
you have to
pretty
do.
glued because I mean, obviously, what else are you really doing in the house? I mean, yeah, you're talking with people to kind of let the time pass by, but ultimately, you really need to be watching the driveway or anyone escaping. So there's just no really good opportunity.
Too many people around.
And so at least I do think, yeah, this was a smarter play rather than trying to actually even just, I mean, why not just go for it? What's the point?
They knew it was pointless because, yeah,
Right,
everyone's
because there
going
wasn't going to be. But even if there, the 1% chance that it could have worked, they didn't decide to take it. Because I do think, too, what that would have exposed, especially if Doodles went, well, it would have totally killed Rob's reputation if he went, because then everyone would be like, "What the heck? You just said yesterday."
Right, yeah.
But then if Doodles went, then they'd say, "Oh, the ticker tape," because probably I think a lot of people are thinking, if you get the exit strategy the one day, you're not going to get it the following
Right.
day.
Yeah, they would have been
And that would have
shocked to learn.
exposed that can happen. So then people would be more alert to that or attuned to that. So I think it was better to just not do anything. Just let wait for the next opportunity.
So when the instant exits become available, which they will at random, if someone was to walk by and see it available, see the light turn green, then they can walk out and go hide in the recycling bin until the collection people come.
Yeah, so we see these bins, and then Steve H again kind of starts roaming the house.
Steve H pulls Athena S aside and he's desperate to make a connection with somebody. And he really tries hard to connect with her, but ultimately she doesn't trust him anymore. And she is not interested in working with him. So now Steve is discouraged from this and he stops trying to make connections and just instead focuses on playing a very aggressive game on his own.
Yeah, he's basically just gone lone wolf here. And I mean, especially because I don't think anyone, it would take a while, I think, or someone else is going to have to lie or, do something to make the other players hate them, and then maybe he could try to form some alliances. But right now, there's just nobody's going to be willing to do that, and I think he realizes that after talking to Athena. So he plays solo for now.
So he just happens to walk by when one of the instant exits open and he sees a card with info on it telling him to get into the recycling bin. And if the truck takes him away through the exit doors, he wins. So from the watchtower, you can't directly see the bins.
Right, because they're right up against the house and the roof covers it from the watchtower perspective. So
Yes.
he's able to sneak into the one. He does have to, they're filled with tons of, looks like shredded paper.
This was painful watching him try to dig through the paper and make enough room for him to get in and close the lid. It looked like it was very uncomfortable and took him a long time.
Yeah, I mean, he kept trying. He would rip up a whole bunch out, try to get in the bin, and then it would still be open. And it took him a couple times. And then even still at the end, I think he finally gets it. But from the editing, it seems like it was a long process or a lot of paper to get rid of in order for him to get into the bin.
And semi-close the lid.
Yeah.
But he's waiting there. But then around the same time, it's Susan's big opportunity to leave. So they plan this out. So it correlates with one another to make the person in the recycling bin have more of a chance of being exposed.
Yeah, this was what made it interesting was because it was right around the time Susan. So then it kind of plays into this. Multiple people are outside, especially I think because they made the bins hidden from the watchtower.
Hmm.
It would have given them, I think, too much of an advantage if nobody else was able to be outside during that moment. So I think this was a way to kind of balance out the fairness of being able to
Yeah, I
escape.
think so because it would have just been way too easy. Everybody's like pretty much ignoring Steve, so they're not purposely looking for him in the house at this time.
Right.
Susan and Demi make their big escape in front of everybody because everybody knows about this. And the whole group is chanting them on and chanting open sesame. And then they casually walk. They treated this as like a fun walk in the sun. First, it's Demi and Susan just casually strolling, and then Omarosa's there, and a couple people walk out the window and just start walking around. But of course, they get caught.
Well, this is what I don't understand. It was
Get
Zemi.
caught
Yeah.
because everybody knew they were just like laughing before they hit the button.
I mean, they did try to run their best to down the driveway before they hit the button. But what I didn't understand because Omarosa went outside just to casually walk around, right? Because it was just to basically get some fresh air from being outside the house. I'm shocked they let. I guess because she wasn't trying or anything, but I don't know. It's just interesting to see that she was able to even go out and just walk around with them outside.
Yeah, I guess when the exits are open, anyone can just walk out, but then it's time to get back, right?
Right, like they'd already hit the button at this point, and they normally the door would have already been like locked by that
So
time.
she's
But
like, might as well just enjoy some fresh air.
yeah, but then I guess some of it was because of the dynamic of Steve being in the bin and the whole thing because we see a recycle truck pull up to the driveway, and then the people on the roof were like, "Hey, this is too weird. Why is there a recycling bin? Is someone trying to escape maybe through the bin?" And then they rush and tell Susan and Omarosa and Demi to check all the bins because just in case someone's trying to escape.
Yeah, exactly. So they get really suspicious. And then they open up the trash, and who do they see?
Good old Steve H.
Yep. Steve betrayed everybody, not once, but twice now. And Spencer says, well, at least now you'll be famous and you'll be known as Trash Can Steve.
Yeah, and then, then he joked. He's like, he's just the merchandise on around that. But it's interesting because Steve in the first episode talked about how Spencer's like the villain and et cetera and all this stuff, and then he puts so much emphasis about being a villain, and then let alone now he's like become the villain of this series,
Yeah, true.
which is interesting. But
True. How did that happen?
yeah, well, he's just every opportunity he gets, he's just trying to escape. Because I mean, I understand. He said in a talking head that what do I've got to lose? No one trusts me at this point, so I might as well every opportunity I get, might as well because I've got nothing to lose otherwise. Which he really doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame him for getting into that recycling bin.
Yeah.
So our last instant exit now unlocks and is green, and no one's really noticing this so far. And then Kim just casually walks by it and she says, I'm going to take this opportunity.
Well, this I was actually it was weird because you had Val and I think it was Rob. They were playing ping pong or one of the
Right by it.
right, and I was shocked because I mean Val was at least his back was to the wall, or to the door, but Rob, I mean he was slightly angled. It would I would imagine it would have been visible in his peripheral.
It's like he
left
just wasn't
field.
even paying attention, but this bright green light was right there.
I mean, I guess you're not trained yet to be looking for that or something, but I don't know. It was just shocking that he didn't even witness or recognize that it had locked. So
Right.
so they play and then they go away and then they go do something else and then Kim just happens to walk by and she's like, oh wait, is that green?
Like
And
much later. It's already been open for a while.
yeah, well, and then there's this too. I wonder if they see, in the bottom right, they're showing the countdown before it locks again, and it's at like 10 seconds when Kim sees that it's still open or
And how
whatever.
long is it open for?
I think it was like 2 or 3 minutes. It's not very long.
Oh,
Really.
I thought it was like an hour or something.
No, it's a pretty short time. But yeah, with the timer, because she gets out or opens the door, with like a second or two to spare before it relocks. So, and she was kind of taking her time there, and I almost thought, does she even know the timer? Because it looks like it's about to lock. She's gonna try, and then it's gonna lock on her, right? But then she does get out. But so I don't know. I was kind of wondering if they see that or not because she was just very casual with it. Or I feel like if I had seen it and if she did see it, there's only 3 seconds left.
You'd have
she
to
would've-
rush towards it. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been a little more hurried with her step, but
So she does open the door, ends up opening it.
yes, she does get out, and
There's our cliffhanger.
she's out alone and ready to walk away with a little bit more money than everybody else.
But right before this, she says, this is a dry show. And she says she's having dreams of having a glass of wine.
Yeah. Which this, I was actually kind of shocked that I don't know if well, I guess because they're throwing in different things. I mean, with the cars, right? I guess that would have, if they had some drinks or something and then they go try to get into one of those cars and peel out or something, right? I guess that's probably why they're doing it. And maybe there's some other event type things that they'll add that is quick. Because otherwise, I was kind of shocked, right? Because I mean, normally these shows love putting alcohol out there, right?
Could you imagine if they're stumbling out the windows or doors? And yeah,
right.
I guess you make a good point there.
That's probably what it is so they don't injure themselves.
Initially, we were shocked because on all these other shows, they're like,
right, because it creates the drama.
Everywhere.
People get more heightened, reactions and things like that. So it's a great reality producer.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I guess because this one's a little more physical, or it could be, physical really at any time, right? Yeah, they've got to hop out of a window or et cetera. They don't want to have an injury and then have it because of, alcohol related.
Yeah, they have to keep their mind in the game. This show is not about love and everything
Right.
else. So,
but yeah, I mean, you're sitting around or hanging around the house all day with not that much else to do. So I'd kind of think they'd put it. But yeah, it's probably more for those reasons.
Right. But yeah, we're left on a cliffhanger. Do you think Kim will be able to make her big escape, or are there too many eyes watching?
I mean, yeah, I mean, it doesn't, I don't think anyone's not on the watchtower as she gets out. So I don't know. So I imagine someone's going to see her from the watchtower, especially because the bins are gone. She has no other way. I don't know how you would get out just running, from the driveway to the gate, unless you're, Usain Bolt or something, because that's a huge distance to try to sprint before someone.
But everyone's going to automatically see a person walking or sprinting.
That's why I think there's got to be something of where they need something else other than just like the tool of the day or whatever that they provide the person to help escape. Or are there some trees or like a little more of a wooded, where like if someone's not paying attention, right? I don't know, right? There's 2 trees or something. They could dart from one tree to the next tree or something. So they have some cover at moments, but it's not just totally, in a forest that they're going to the gate and to not be found. But it's not plain as day for the watchtower to see them. Like, there needs to be some balance where they can kind of get in and out of the watchtower's line of sight,
Right.
in order to trigger the alarm. Because otherwise, they'll just see them, instantly, and then they've got no chance.
Well, from what we remember, it's a pretty open field.
Yeah, I mean the driveway to the gate is pretty. I mean it's windy, but I mean it's pretty. I mean there's some small little like shrubbery plants that, but not big enough for you to hide behind that the watchtower is not going to see. So that's what I'm more interested to. I don't know that element. I don't know how they're going to make that in a way that's, you know, gives the person to escape any, some advantage to getting out.
So right now, do you think Kim is getting out?
No, unless they open up something, at the beginning of the next episode that gives her maybe some help. But I don't know. But she also doesn't have her gray bed sheet to try to blend in with the driveway either. So that
she didn't take that with her.
Right, that plan's foiled. So
her original plan.
Yeah, that brilliant idea of blending in with the multicolored driveway and a single colored bed sheet.
At least maybe she wouldn't look like a person.
Yeah.
Just a big bed sheet.
I mean, that could work for like nighttime, right? Because I mean, they are, I think, going to be able to have chances during the night. And that could be where something maybe is more likely that they could get out on foot or something. But
yeah, but so far, or this episode, it's all day. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I mean, she's out during the day currently, unless she could actively.
Or if can she wait out there for a really long time?
Yeah, right. Could that be a thing where she just sits behind in the back till nightfall and then tries? I
still think there's lights outside.
Yeah, I'm sure they'd probably kick on some lights or something. But still, nonetheless, it'd be, I think, more. You'd have a better shot at nighttime. But see, that's the thing. I think it's what's so interesting about this because there's so many. Well, there needs to be. They haven't really given all the rules, and there's so many different ways of being able to do this. So that's what's interesting about this because I just don't know. Like that. Can the person sit there for 6 hours and then try to make an escape? They just sit outside. Is that boring? Right. Yes. But is that an option? Is that allowed?
Also, do you think the people in the house will start tracking like who is in our house? Like when Steve was in the recycling bin, he was gone for hours.
Well, that's what I would think is
someone needs to do like a quick roll call or something.
Right, because that would be the way to be defensive against someone just sitting outside of the house for, 6 hours or whatever. Yeah. Because then you'd have to say, oh, we're doing roll call. Everyone, show up or whatever.
Or just assign somebody to check off everybody's name every hour. And they run throughout the house. Well, if you sign a
person, then if they're the one trying to escape, it'd have to be multiple or, some hourly.
Okay, that would be terrible. Every hour I have to line up.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see what rules get presented next time and what strategies come up, but we're excited to see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot more to unfold and what are the guidelines and, boundaries of this whole thing. So no, I think, like I said, I really like the concept. So it's a cool idea.
It is. So we'll see how soon Kim gets caught next time.
Yes. Will she hang outside next to the house for 6 hours? Or will she be caught immediately? We will see then.
Yes. Thanks so much for joining us for another episode of A Fine Podcast.
Yes, we hope you liked our Got to Get Out. And like and subscribe if you haven't already. And we will move on next week.
Episode 3, we're excited to recap that and stay tuned.
Yes, we will see the demise of Kim or not.
Most likely. We'll see.
Ciao.
Bye.